Hey, we're back again. This is day 3. No, it's day 4, Scanny tells me. Anyway, welcome back. This is Sabrina here to talk to you about a method or a way that you can approach eating that's different than other formalized types of diets that you may have heard. And it comes from the government. So, first of all, up until about 2011, we were following something called the Food Guide Pyramid. Now that's been changed. We follow something called MyPlate. And what's interesting about MyPlate, as you can see that I've tried to represent it here on the board, is that it is a picture of a plate and then actual portions of food, macronutrients, if you will, that make up that plate. So I'm putting this up here because as fitness professionals, we are well within our scope of practice to give you recommendations and educate you about the guidelines offered in choosemyplate.gov, which is actually a website that anyone can go and access its information. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about perhaps how to apply it in real life. So, first of all, MyPlate is made up of a picture representation of the different types of foods that you're hopefully eating every day if you're eating a well-balanced diet. So, as you can see, fruits and vegetables, or produce, so to speak, make up one half of the plate. Fruits a little smaller portion because they're typically higher in sugar and therefore more calories, and then vegetables a little bit larger portion because they are not quite as high in sugar and lots of fiber and other important vitamins and minerals. So these are carbs, okay? Also, we've got grains. Grains makes up a slightly more part of the plate on that side than does protein. So again, grains, we're talking about whole grains, oatmeal, whole grain breads, if you like that kind of thing, cereal. Again, staying away from the highly processed foods as much as possible and eating the whole carbohydrate as much as possible, making up the grains portion. The proteins would be your animal protein sources, such as meats, poultries, fish, also eggs. And then over here we've got this little circle of dairy. So if you're a person who likes to eat dairy, can tolerate dairy, then that's also included. And in dairy, there's a mixture of carbohydrates and proteins. So you get a little bit of everything in there as well. The website is here, choosemyplate.gov, if you're really interested in looking more into this. It's not a bad method, and it is a well-rounded, science-based approach, okay? There's another part to this website that I find very helpful, that I direct many of my clients and group participants to check out, and it is the Super Tracker portion of the website. And what that does is it allows you to go on, input your variables, your age, how active you are, whether you're male or female, what your weight loss or weight gain goals are. It allows you to put that information into the website, and then it gives you information about how to approach doing just that based on calorie consumption, macronutrient consumption, and activity levels. So it ties right back to that energy balance equation that I talked about in a video a couple of days ago. So that website is supertracker.usda.gov. It's not a bad thing. I would look into it, and I do recommend it. One more thing I'll say about that is it ties directly into a free app called MyFitnessPal. And that is something that you can have on your smartphone, take it with you wherever you go, input your calories that you're eating as well as your physical activity, and you can kind of see throughout the day where you fall into that energy balance equation depending on your goal. So again, this takes some time and commitment. You have to be willing to get a little bit nerdy with it and have the time and the patience to track this stuff. And if that is the type of person you are, then this type of program is going to work great for you. If you don't have the time or patience to deal with that, which many of us don't, don't do it. So there's that. So here's something that you could try though. Let's say you tried this approach for 2 or 3 days. Let's say you went for it. You went for it for 1 week. 7 days, you tracked your calories, your macronutrients, your physical activity. You figured out what it was like to try to stay within these guidelines. Then you just didn't do it anymore because you had a better idea of what a portion looks like on your plate, what it feels like to eat your recommended number of calories, what it's like to go to the grocery store and buy things on the list to actually make up your macronutrient goals. Once you do that for a few days or a week, then you kind of have an idea of what it's really all about, and you're a more educated, informed consumer when you go about eating throughout your day. So you don't have to be so restrictive all the time. Sometimes people like to do it just because it's enlightening to see what they've been doing compared to what the recommendations actually are. So let's say you do that, or you don't, I don't care. But let's say you want a more realistic approach to just eating food. So if you remember that we've got these macronutrients, that we've got proteins, carbs, and fats. If you can remember just to try to eat those things every time you put something in your mouth, so to speak, every time you eat a meal, whether it's a snack, if you can just try to have some type of balance of those 3 items, fat, proteins, and carbs, in their relative amounts, you're going to get a well-rounded nutrition in your day. So, in other words, if you're going to eat a snack, let's say, you could grab a pear, you could grab a handful of nuts. The nuts give you some carbs and protein, the pear gives you some fiber and carbs, a little bit of sugar, and it's a well-rounded snack. And if you don't like to think about your food, breaking it down into 20% fat, 30% protein, and 50% carbs, which I believe Matt made fun of me in his last video for doing, then just try to grab foods that include these major macronutrients so that you can eat a balanced meal or snack throughout the day, and you can feel full and you can fuel your performance, and then you know you can be confident that you're getting the nutrients that you need. Now, I want to reiterate what Matt said earlier in one of his videos, which is that we want your nutrition approach to be realistic. We want it to be tasty, because if you completely ignore the fact that humans derive pleasure from their diet, you're missing out. And whatever diet you choose that doesn't give you any pleasure at all isn't going to last very long, I can tell you that. So being diligent about getting whole foods, clean foods, if you want to call it that, always a good idea. It's also a good idea to remember that eating a moderate amount of foods that you find enjoyable, maybe it's ice cream, maybe it's cake, I don't know what your thing is, but have that thing a little bit in moderation so that you don't go crazy thinking about all the reasons why you can't have it or shouldn't have it or you're not having it. Okay, so try to eat a balanced diet. Use these tools if you'd like, and approach diet in a balanced manner. So that's all for now. Thanks.